All right, guys. So, again, I've talked about this before, and somebody's gonna call me a hater or think that I'm doing too much. But
what does this picture mean to you? It sparked quite the conversation online. This is a North Carolina high school track athlete holding up his hand as he crosses the finish line in the final race of the state championship on Friday. Maybe you saw this over the weekend, or maybe it's all new to you. Either way, let's break this down. Long story short, a high school lost out on a state championship in North Carolina because of how an athlete celebrated in the final race of the meet. Here's the full clip. That student athlete is Nyan Brown from Mallard Creek High School in Charlotte. He's set to run track for NC State later this year. You can see the shock on his face when the ref disqualified him at the end of the race, saying the gesture with his arm, with his hand, was unsportsmanlike, that he was showboating or taunting. You see, Brown was the final leg of the 4x400 relay, and he won it. And that would have given Mallard Creek enough points to win the overall track and field state championship. But because of that DQ, they didn't get those points, so they came up short. They got second. Jordan High School in Durham won the state championship instead. The school posted about it on their Instagram page. It's the first time their men's track and field team has won a state title. We reached out to Jordan High School. They declined to comment. But this story, this conversation isn't really about Jordan High School. It's about the call by the official. Was the gesture really that bad? Did the punishment fit the crime? Was it even a crime in the first place? We want you to be a part of this conversation. Please send an email, 7 p.m. at WRAL.com. We want to share some of your feedback at the end of tonight's show. So please do let us know what you think. People across the sports world are getting in on the conversation. Robert Griffin III, the Heisman Trophy winner and former track athlete, he wrote, "A high school was robbed of a state championship. This isn't taunting or unsportsmanlike." Here's the State High School Athletic Association's entry into the debate. Quote, "We recognize there is deep disappointment experienced by the student athletes, coaches, and the school community involved." And here's a statement from the athlete, from Nyan Brown. It reads in part, "While I am disappointed in the final decision, I believe this moment creates an opportunity for a larger conversation to create clearer expectations for how young athletes can express joy in meaningful moments." Mallard Creek, by the way, is now appealing the ruling to the State Board of Education. The state rules ban taunting and flagrant behavior and disrespecting officials, and this can result in a disqualification. But a rule like that we saw on the track there, it's pretty subjective, right? We all have different thresholds of what is disrespectful or flagrant. The conversation around this 30-second clip is huge. But the problem with short clips is that you miss the context, like what happened before that relay. Because it turns out Nyan Brown and his team had received warnings earlier that day. Was that a major piece of this? I spoke to the guy who took the viral video, Joel Bryan, a member of high school OT who was there covering the track meet. Look, Joel, I am so glad to be chatting with you. This story that you broke has drawn incredible reaction online. More than 8 million views on X alone, thousands of comments. Now, since your story, what's your impression now that you've had some time to process it?
We knew that it was going to be, there was going to be some feedback from local people, local coaches, people in the state. We kind of had a feeling that people, locally were not going to be happy with it. But what's been surprising is just kind of the national attention it's gotten. It's pretty much a universal kind of agreement that, it probably shouldn't have happened the way it did. It was kind of a benign celebration to many people, and it's kind of captivated everybody.
Officials told you that Mallard Creek received a warning for taunting after the 300-meter earlier in the day, and that a second violation resulted in the disqualification. So from your vantage point, was that a point of big conversation leading up to the 4x400 meter relay? Like, what did you see out there?
Yeah, I would say that in general, track is going to be a little bit stricter in their officiating. All sports have to follow the same sportsmanship guidelines, but track kind of is notorious for just being a little bit stricter. And allegedly that Mallard Creek was warned after 300-meter hurdles earlier in the event not to kind of showboat or in their words taunt. So that allegedly they were warned of that. That's what the officials said. I did not see that personally. But I do know that the officials did come up to us, the media, afterwards and encouraged us to not basically encourage them to kind of celebrate and showboat because it will result in a disqualification. So I'm kind of inclined to think, if they came up and told us, the media, they probably did say something to him. The question to me is, was there an official notification of the coach? Because the whole point of, high school sports and everything, it's really all learning, right? So we have to kind of give these notifications to coaches so they can make a teaching point so that doesn't happen again. And Mallard Creek asserts that they were not giving they're not given a formal warning by the official that Nyan was kind of given this warning. So that's kind of where the problem is that here is whether that warning happened or not.
You bring up the coach, and I want to ask you about him. The Athletic is reporting that the coach feels like his school was targeted by the officials, that there was inconsistent officiating throughout the week. Of course, that's a line we've all heard before, right? And we've felt before in sports when our team is losing. But I'm wondering if you noticed anything that actually validates what he said.
Yeah, I was there all 4 days. There were lots of athletes doing celebrations. I guess the sticking point with this one was that he was holding the hand up as he was crossing a line before he technically finished. But there were other celebrations that were happening right before the finish line like that throughout the week. And it was a mixture of schools. It wasn't just one school. It was males and females. It was a mixture of everybody.
Joel, great reporting. Thank you so much for your insights.
Yeah.
All right, so what do we make of this? Everyone seems to have an opinion on the situation. But when all the attention shifts away, what will be the lasting impact of this story? I go back to what Nyan Brown said in his statement, that he hopes this leads to clearer expectations for young athletes. Maybe that's possible. Maybe they change the rules, or maybe they change how they interpret the rules, or maybe they change how the rules are enforced. Maybe that will be the lasting impact, keeping the conversation going even when the noise quiets down. Keep those emails coming, 7 p.m. at WRAL.com. We know you've got thoughts on this. Let us know what you think about the video and where you land in this conversation. We'll try to get to a few of your emails at the end of the newscast. Tonight's One Last Thing is your feedback. Whoa, we've got a lot of people weighing in, emailing us about the track athlete who was disqualified. One viewer wrote, "Pro athletes need to be better role models. Humility is the sign of great sportsmanship."
I don't know. What do you think? I mean, I come from I believe that pro sports are a different thing, that they get to do things differently than younger athletes. That said, pro sports that model has started to infiltrate all the other steps down, college, high school. These kids are looking to build brands. They're online. They have social media followings, and that could encourage some, people to act like the pros do. Why not?
Well, let's talk about Tony.
Tony wrote and said he's done it before and was told not to do it. Just follow the rules.
He was warned, right? But there's all of this back and forth over, was he warned properly? Did the coach get involved? Did the coach know that he was being warned? There's all this back and forth there. Hey, let's check in with Dee. Dee said, taking away the win from that child for lifting his arm slightly is terrible. Can they not get excited about the win? Right.
2 seconds left in the show. You want to answer that one in 2 seconds?
Good night.
Maybe tomorrow.
Guys, there are rules in place for a reason. And if you've made it through a whole season of a sport, then at some point it behooves you to know the rules. You can't just leave it up to somebody else to know the rules. You, as the school, should know the rules of these governing bodies when it comes to putting your athletes out there. Your staff, your coaches should know these rules. The athletes themselves should know these rules. The parents should know these rules because it's still education to some degree. So the school, the coaches, and the parents should be helping the athlete not make these mistakes, these grave mistakes in the moment. We've seen, I've done a reaction, and I'll try to leave it up here somewhere, of the father who basically, prompted his daughter. He had a fire extinguisher waiting in the stand, so when she won, she could go spray him off and do a celebration. She got disqualified. Guys, these aren't new things. There was a kid in the swimming pool. I think I did a reaction. I'll put it up here. He got disqualified for just crossing over. Do they seem harsh? Yes. And you know what makes me a hater about it? I hate that nobody is telling these kids. Nobody's telling these kids, look, I understand you're going to be excited. We can celebrate later. Don't be over exuberant. I would be showing them these examples previous. Guys, people get their championships taken from them. You may have won. It may seem right. But do we really want to go through the appeals process? Like, just win your award right now. Be able to stand on the podium right now. Don't have to wait 6 months for a trial and you possibly get it back. And then you get awarded. There's no fanfare in it. Sure, you get the credit for it, but the moment is gone. They're not going to pull everybody back out of their lives to say, okay, let's celebrate these people and put them on a stand. It's not going to happen. Give yourself the best possible. The same way you've prepared. The same way you've prepared every day. Like, you don't run through, your track practice. At least I never did. Ran through track practice and then celebrated at the end of every time like you had to run it at practice. That's never been a part of the practice. Same thing with, at football. We never scored a touchdown or did something and then danced all over the place. If you want to do that, sure. But understand, in real time, in real life, actions have consequences. And consequences may not always seem fair, but if it's been in the rules, then the only thing that's not fair is these people over celebrating and putting it on, the onus on to this governing body to somehow go back on the rules they had already put in place. It's just how it is, guys. It's no different than not knowing the speeding laws. You might be from another state. Hey, I'm sorry, I didn't know. It's still not an excuse. Ignorance is not an excuse of laws and rules. What they're going to say is you should know the rules of where you're traveling, whether it's another country, another city, another state, whatever it is. Same thing here. When you are going through something as simple as an athletic competition, then by all means. And did he go overboard? No, he didn't go overboard. But the problem is he and his team were already warned. So now the burden, it's an extra burden. I saw other people reacting and saying, well, they showed pictures of other people celebrating and it was similar. Yes, but were they possibly warned? Do we know that these other teams weren't warned as well and they course corrected? Whereas this team clearly decided to go for 2 infractions, and it's not baseball. You don't get 3 strikes. Does it suck? Certainly for them it does. Certainly for them. Does the team who got the championship, do they really want to win it that way? Probably not, but at least they can put champions, state champions, next to their name. There's always, maybe you can say there's going to be an asterisk next to it, whatever. But the point is, it came down to this because somebody didn't follow the rules. Somebody didn't know the rules in which, and this is more egregious than the other ones I mentioned because they were already warned. Their coaches, their school, there's somebody there that was ruling over these athletes should have pulled them into a huddle and said, stop, knock it off. Knock it off. I don't care how subtle it seems. Guys, we are this close from history. Don't squander it. Don't give it away. And clearly, this was a celebration. Whether it was just, I'd seen people saying they were 5-time champions or whatever. They said, don't celebrate. Don't do it. And this is just what we know from the outside. Maybe there are people that were there that can impart a little bit more, but not everybody is in you could have been in the stands. I could have been in the stands, but it doesn't mean that we know specifically what happened all throughout the rest of that. There's going to be other officials. They're going to have spoken to athletes. They may have pulled the coach off to the side. Whatever it was, this is what happened. I know, again, it's not a popular sentiment. I'm certainly not a hater, but what I am is a follower of the rules, guys. If you don't want it, then don't do it. If you don't want the consequence, don't do it. Let me know what your thoughts are. Ace up the sleeve, advice, comment, experience. It's a tough one. It's a tough one, but that's just what it is. And hopefully they learn from it. And the one thing that I will say is that young man who got disqualified, he gave a pretty mature speech or statement as far as being able to understand like what the rules of celebration are and things like that. But that's something that you go over long before you get to that moment, because you are in that moment, and so we have to plan to be in a clearer space. We've already practiced not to. We already understand what can happen without it. And people are saying it's taking the fun away. In this day and age of social media, there are so many more people doing things for views, for likes, for building their brand. And with NIL and things like that coming for college students, that's one of those things where it's all built on entertainment. It's not necessarily about the athleticism anymore. These governing bodies for athletics are now having to pre-plan and say, you can't do this, can't do that. Like, these are things that have kind of already been in place, but as social media and branding and all that stuff becomes more notorious, that's just what it's going to be, guys. Tell your athletes, parents, coaches, schools, and athletes. You learn the rules yourself. Tell your parents, tell the coaches, because somebody else may not know. Education, it's best when it's passed around. It serves everybody. So, and if you're not sure, ask an official. If you're not sure in that moment, if you're not sure that day of, ask an official. Somebody there in official capacity should have some sort of rules, but don't question it afterwards. Question it beforehand. And if you've already been warned, then stop. That's just my thoughts. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. And as always, I hope this finds everybody in your place. Pursuit of beginnings of total health, mind, body, and soul. And like we like to say here, HWPO, that means hard work pays off. And this is the Impact Athletics Association. And in the meantime, subscriptions and videos. So stick around.